FirstCoast.tv, we find ourselves here with Floyd Phillips, who's one of the directors or on the board of the Lincolnville Museum, or the Friends of the Lincolnville Museum. You have something going on tonight.
Well, tonight we have a reception planned for our volunteers. We want to recognize them for all that they do for the museum. We are constantly inviting people to get involved with our museum, and there are opportunities for people in the community to serve in whatever capacity, to exercise their fields of expertise. So if you have a desire to be involved with our organization, we welcome you. You can reach me personally at area code 205-826-0608. You can reach my personal email, Floyd, Floyd, 6928 at att.net.
We've seen that this museum is slowly coming alive with new events and new things happening. When you look in the future, what do you hope this institution become?
Well, this is the Lincolnville Museum and Culture Center. Our vision is for this to become a repository for African American history for this region. We want to develop traveling exhibits. We want to be able to point anyone in the right directions in terms of people who are interested in African American history. We currently have partnerships with the University of Florida. We are doing a program now with the Samuel Proctor project, where we are actually looking to interview 100 people in the St. Johns County area. Interviews will be archived here in the museum in St. Augustine in Lincolnville, and they will be available worldwide on the web. Matter of fact, they will be available at the University of Florida as well. And we'll have a total of in excess of 1,000 interviews once the program is completed, because over 500 of these interviews have already been conducted throughout the country, and it's an ongoing process. We expect this to extend for a minimum of 2 years in this area.
Okay. For those people who've never been to this Lincolnville Museum, what are some of the treasures that we find here interesting?
Well, one of the things that stand out right away is from the Civil Rights era, we have the original fingerprint card of Dr. Martin Luther King, where he was arrested in St. Augustine. We have a piano that was played by the likes of Ray Charles and other notables. It was recovered from the Oddfellows Hall located on Washington Street.
Okay.
Another one of the musicians was Little Richard, who came through this area and was one of the performers on this museum. We have artifacts. We have a pair of boots that were owned by J. Edgar Hoover, and they are engraved. They are not presently on display, but we expect to have them on display very, very soon.
So you have quite a lot, and I really hope this museum really becomes all everybody wants it to be. Because for a lot of us, we see that this area is so rich in history.
Well, we feel like there's a story to be told that has not been told. One of the local residents, Thomas Buckingham Smith, has a long history in St. Augustine. We are the recipients of an award or grant from the Buckingham Smith Foundation. Now, that story has not been totally developed. That's one of the desires that we have to do that. There is a gentleman who was a slave that was owned by Buckingham Smith. His name was Jack Smith. We want to develop that into a traveling exhibit so that we can share this history throughout the state of Florida and throughout the nation.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I will stay around to see what people I meet and what things happen tonight. and you've been very kind. To
Thank you so much.
Few words.
I would like to give you all a brief description and a little history of the Lincolnville Museum and Cultural Center. The Lincolnville Museum and Cultural Center is located in the nation's oldest city. This center is only located 2 blocks away from downtown St. Augustine. There are a number of historic inquiries, but we need to get more foot traffic, more heads in this place. And we need your help in directing persons here. As you know, Excelsior was originally a 2-story wooden building, but in 1925, this building was constructed. In other words, not only are we a museum for Lincolnville, the building in which we inhabit is a cultural artifact. This entire facility has so much gravitas and history. The building itself is our prized possession. Our goal is to establish the Lincolnville Museum and Cultural Center as the preeminent institution for the preservation of African American history and culture for Florida's historic coast. We live in one of the most historic and prominent locations within the North American continent, St. Augustine. The history of this nation rests here. As you know, St. Augustine was occupied long before Jamestown and long before Plymouth. The story that we want to tell here is the full 400 and some odd year history of African Americans in the New World. And we can do that by telling the story of Lincolnville as a community that started right after the Civil War, better known at that time was Little Africa, and eventually it morphed into the name Lincolnville. When I was in graduate school, I did a paper on the First and Second Seminole War, and my thesis was that Florida became a part of the United States essentially because the 13 colonies of the United States could not stand for a free or essentially free territory of well-armed black folk being next door. So you're going to hear some things and see some things here in the future that we will bring evidence, and we will actually display this information. This museum, of course, will house memorabilia such as our photographs and articles and artifacts which represent the proud history of the Lincolnville community. However, eventually this is what our goal is to the Lincolnville Museum. We will separate that history into sections and we will be dedicated to the different eras of this territory, of this community. In other words, you will get a heavy concentration on the history of Lincolnville itself. That is our base. For instance, we don't talk about the fact that Frederick Douglass read the Emancipation Proclamation right here in St. Augustine at the old Opera House right downtown. I love what you all see every day, to walk around these streets and see what you see. And to have that history right here. So you are sitting on hallowed ground. You're sitting on sacred ground. And that's the story that we wish to tell here.